This episode is brought to you by the fabulous members of the You Run Podcast Network, all available at yourunpodcast.com.
So if I solve it, do I get a prize?
I do.
You want to die tonight?
The dad jokes you tell sets the scene. I hang on every word lost in the screen. Your passion for fear is contagious enough. You make me believe in Mark's overblown roundups. You run podcasts for a movie review, unveiling facts and playing games too. Your words paint pictures of darkness and dread, leaving me grinning long after I fled. But You Run Podcast.
Many people, everyone recognised that. You opened the episode, we came. I'm not even sorry. Hello, welcome to the You Run Podcast Horror Movie Review. My name is Scott.
My name is Mark.
And we are here to give you your weekly dose of podcasting where you choose the movies we talk about. Every movie we release a new episode. Every Monday
Not tonight, man. Just take a breath and start again.
Every Monday we release a new episode that contains a brief synopsis followed by a deeper look at what we liked and what we didn't like about the movie. We are a spoiler heavy show, so if you haven't seen the movie, maybe go and watch it and then come back and listen to what we have to say. After the main review, we bring you some facts and some stories about the production, followed by some interactive features and a game. This week, it's a kinky game.
Yay! It's going to be very pun heavy this week, isn't it?
I think it might be. There may be some puns in this episode. It's got that kind. It's anyone who's listened to the episodes like X that we done. It's going to be like that all over again. We're going to round. Everyone loves it. We're going to round the episode off with our final thoughts in a very Jerry Springer style way before hitting you with final scores and telling you what's coming next week. This week, we are on the Cenobite Express as we meet Riley, a recovering addict and a questionable boyfriend as they steal a spooky puzzle box. Solving it unleashes a hell priest and their elegantly pierced pals who are less interested in board games and more in sensory overloading experiences. After her brother falls victim to the box, it's bondage party vibes. Riley and her friends have to navigate a gore-soaked obstacle course with a billionaire with buyer's remorse and a house that looks like it's straight out of 13 Ghosts. All before Riley has to choose a gift from the hell priest. It's going to be tough, though, because demonic giveaways tend to come with hidden fees and some chains attached. Today, we are looking at the 2022 reboot of Hellraiser.
Ooh, kinky!
I really like this movie. I'm going to get that straight out of the gate. I've liked it when it was released. I still like it now on this rewatch. I think it's one of the prettiest movies to watch. It's visually very, very impressive.
Yeah, I don't hate it. I don't love it. I'm a big fan of the original. I love the original movie, and I also love the sequel to the original movie. I think Hellraiser 1 and 2 were a perfect pairing, and I love those movies. So I think it's a very high benchmark to reach in order to remake those. And it's not that I'm opposed to remakes in any stretch of the imagination. I welcome them with open arms, but I do feel, I don't know, there's just a certain level of charm about those first two movies that I feel this movie doesn't quite execute. I mean, visually, it's a stunning movie. The creature design of the Cenobites is absolutely fantastic. It's flawlessly executed in that sense. I just think there was a big misstep with the characters here. I wasn't on board with Riley. I didn't really care for the followings that she come with. The back half of the movie is far superior to the first half of the movie. But we'll get into that. Where do you want to start?
I want to kick off with how much I love the look. So the look of this, I read the Clive Barker's Books of Blood, basically, is what this comes from. It's his book, but Hellbound Heart. And the accuracy of this to the book in comparison to the Hellraiser movies from the 80s is exceptional. And if you're a fan of the books, there's no way you won't like this. Like that's where I come when I sat down for this and I was like, oh shit, yeah, they've ditched the leather. And I know lots of people went, oh, all the leather's gone. And I was like, that's great because he's sticking closer to that book aesthetic.
I don't think the leather would have worked in 2022 anyway, to be honest with you.
No, I don't think it would have either. But where I want to start movie-wise is I want to start with Riley and how much of a knob she is. She's a recovering addict, which they tend to be knobs anyway. I know a few people who've gone through recovery and like it's great. They're doing the right thing. But in that process of recovery and slipping back and recovery again, they have a big period where they're just dickheads. And I found it really hard to actually like her or care about her.
Yeah, I think that was one of the biggest missteps for me, as I mentioned a second ago, is I just didn't warm to her character at all. I had no empathy for her. Her behaviour throughout was very brattish. And when you're comparing her to Kirsty from the first two movies, which in its essence is what she's supposed to be, really, they're leagues apart in terms of likability. And for me, I think that was one of the biggest failures of this movie was casting her, not necessarily because of the way she looks. She's a very attractive woman. I'm not begrudging her and saying she's ugly or anything like that. I thought she's a very pretty lady, but I just think her characteristics, her mannerisms, and her whole attitude towards the people around her just made me really dislike her, which in essence made me not really care too much about her throughout the first half of the movie.
Yeah, and I'm with you with that. The one thing I will say is, though, her and Trevor, those sex scenes, fuck me, they didn't hold back on the full on.
No.
Like not even 8 minutes into the film, and there's full on like move that cover an inch, and it belongs on Pornhub, not on Disney Plus. Like sex scenes, like it was like I was like, shit, like they didn't hold back, and I like that because it's very reminiscent of the 80s where nudity was used in that way, and they didn't shy away from that this time. It was very much like they're gonna fuck, and we're gonna show you. Enjoy.
Yeah, definitely. And I think, I mean, we all know Clive Barker as well is a very sexualized person and into some creepy, sexy stuff. No judgment here, obviously. I think they do a good job of going down that kink avenue a lot here. Even just the opening sex party at the beginning with the guy who first meets. I'm terrible with names in this movie because, like I said, I just didn't care for them all too much.
I love that opening segment where they hook the bloke out of the party and take him, and the billionaire's like, he picks up the puzzle box and it's all elongated at this point, and he's like, yeah, carry on. And he's like playing with it. He's like, oh, if I open it, do I get a prize? He's like, I do. And then he opens it, like that chain coming through and getting him like straight through the leg and like yanking him out. I was like, oh, that's brilliant. The fact the billionaire's like could not give two shits.
Not even watching, just blasé about the whole thing as if he'd seen it numerous times before, which at this point, which we later find out he probably has.
The portal to hell. There's a bloke being dragged across his giant like marble floor, and he's got the lament configuration. He's holding it up to the sky going, I demand my audience now. Like the box will come and give me what I want.
Yeah, which when you come full circle to the movie, the guy at the cold open must have been number 6, because that's one thing that I like about this movie that they interject is they develop the lore a lot more, and they go into the box itself as well. Looks fantastic when you first see it, and it looks like the standard lament configuration square box, and then the camera comes around the side and you see it elongated. You're like, oh, that's different. That's weird. At first, I was like, I kind of hope it's not like that all the way through. And then it changes and it changes and it keeps changing throughout the movie with purpose. And they explain why it's changing. And it has that spike every single time it changes to claim another victim, which then eventually, once it's claimed all 6, it opens and they get rewarded depending on who it is. And I love that side of this movie. I thought that was fucking brilliant. For the Hellraiser movies that I have seen, I'm up to Bloodlines, which was borderline intolerable, if I'm honest with you. I don't know whether I'll go much further with that franchise.
Keep going. There's 11 of them.
Exactly. I'll maybe push as far as what's his face until he drops out. Who's the original Pinhead?
Doug Bradley.
My mind's gone blank on Doug Bradley, yeah. I'll maybe go as far as Doug Bradley's roles, and then after that, I
No,
don't know. There's only two after that, so maybe my curiosity might get the better of me.
you dive into I ate too many donuts, Pinhead.
Yeah,
I can't remember
I
who
probably
played,
should.
but he's like the wrong. He's got the wrong shaped face, and he just looks like Pinhead's like binged on donuts for like 6 months before he started filming. It's great.
I know, and he's on the cover of like the DVDs and stuff as well as that Pinhead, so I'm aware of what he looks like. And a part of me thinks, look, man, if it's that bad, just go down the Halloween 4 route and just put the original Myers mask on the cover, you know. But yeah, I will continue with them. But my point was, over the 4 movies that I have seen in the original timeline, none of them handle the lore as well as this first reboot movie does, in my opinion. I mean, I love the sequel, Hellraiser 2, and that dives in more heavily onto it than any of the other ones that I've seen. But even that one doesn't do a good enough job as this does in explaining to the audience the purpose behind the whole box and the Cenobites coming and all the rest of it. So I did really appreciate that in this movie. And I have to think this movie as well, in terms of aesthetics, while we're talking about the original Hellraiser 2 movie, that has to be its inspiration. Like, this is a Hellraiser 2 movie by all accounts, in my opinion.
Yeah, and they take a lot of inspiration. Like, even when you get those hellish scenes where the walls and stuff open up and you see into that world, you even get a brief shot of the pillar from the end of the first Hellraiser, which I thought was really cool. Like, they really drew a lot of inspiration from the earlier films. And that's because Clive Barker was on as an active producer. He wasn't a producer credit. He was on set going, right, this is what we've done before. This is how I want this to look. This is what I think we should do with this. And it works, having him on hand. I love the fact that the box in this is effectively a character on its own.
Yeah.
Like, where it's, so give a brief, Riley goes as an argument with her brother because she's been out drinking with her boyfriend, and they've gone and stolen the box out of a container from some rich billionaire for no reason at all, but just because they could. And then her brother comes to find her after this fight. When the box sticks him through the hand, that looks so good. Like that. And it goes right through the palm of his hand. It's a clean cut. I was like, oh, mate, that looks awful.
I mean, the thing is as well about the practical effects in this movie and the kills, the CGI, everything is pitch perfect in my opinion. And even the CGI, which is something I don't highly express my appreciation for very often. But it was only after the watch of this movie and how much I desperately wanted a sequel, because I do feel like one thing this movie would benefit from heavily is a sequel. 100%. I feel like there isn't enough substance in this first movie, even though we're glorifying how much substance there is in terms of lore building and stuff. I do feel a second movie would amplify the greatness of this one. If they give us a sequel, another 2-hour-long runtime, and everything sort of is fleshed out a little bit more, returning characters and all the rest of it, and they build a well-amplified lore and story within those 2 movies, I would probably come back to this and rank it a hell of a lot higher. Anyway, I'm massively digressing from my point. My point was I discovered that I forgot this didn't get a cinematic release, did it? This was just straight to Hulu. And I was like, holy shit, man, I'm watching this movie and I'm looking at how incredibly visual it is. And I'm like, shit, man, this is a straight to streaming horror movie. And it looks better than most of the shit we see in the cinemas these days when you're talking about your Conjurings and all the rest of them. And the graphics and everything else in this is just pitch perfect.
Well, Hulu nailed, I think it was 2022 this came out. Hulu absolutely killed 2022 because they released this. Then 3 months later, they released Prey. Both straight to streaming, both straight to Hulu, both arguably the best remakes of the last decade. Yeah. Like Hulu have just absolutely nailed this market down. And the way they've done that is by going, who made the originals? What do the fans want to see? Right, let's bring on the guy who made the originals. Let's listen to the fans and actually give them what they want, as opposed to doing what a lot of bigger studios do and go, yeah, fuck all those fans. They don't know what they want. We don't need the people who've done it before. Let's bring in a new team and brainstorm and do something cool and edgy, and they fuck it up every time.
Exactly. It's a really fine line to have to walk between, because you get the it's a double-edged sword where you get those kind of you get the kind of creators where they just so heavily dump on nostalgia and callbacks and throwbacks, which Alien Romulus was very much on the verge of doing. But then you get this side of it where they take everything that everybody wants and everything that everybody appreciated from that first movie and give us it again in a way that it's almost better, but definitely not, but almost better.
I'm going to say Jamie Clayton as Hell Priest. I prefer to Doug Bradley as Pinhead. I think she is a more intimidating character because of the way she is, because she is very softly spoken. She's very calm. She's very almost pleasant. And I find that a lot more unsettling than that big booming, you opened the box, we came. I find her portrayal a lot more creepy. Like the bit where she gets the girl, that one of the girls who gets stuck by the box, and she gets her with all the chains, and she sort of hangs her up, and fucking the chains bend her, so she's like bent right over backwards. As she walks over to her, so calmly, she's like, "What do you wish for?" She's like, I wish for release. She's going, "Oh no, we've got so many sensations to show you, and you're going to feel all of them before we give you what you want." And I was like, "Oh, that's just so, it's so evil that it's brilliant."
Yeah, I mean, I disagree with what you're saying regarding Doug Bradley. I think he's definitely a superior Pinhead out the two of them. And I think if you take how incredible Jamie Clayton looks in this movie and put all the prosthetics and everything that's on her and take those and put them onto the 80s movie Doug Bradley, I think the conversation would be very different. I think her performance is massively amplified by how fantastic the costume design is this time around for the Cenobites. I think all of them look fantastic. I didn't have a single bad thing or a poor comment to make regarding how they all looked.
I love the one who's got the sort of her throat cut open and then flapped over her head like a hood. She looks fucking awesome.
Yeah, they're really, really cool. And I think that's the thing. I think there's so many cool Cenobites here that give us a sequel and flesh out more of them, because we can't grumble and be like, we don't see enough of them in this movie. I think you see like freaking 3 minutes of them in the first film. So it's like, it's one of those things where I remember where the David Gordon Green Halloween movies came out and everyone was like, oh, in the last Halloween Ends movie, Michael Myers is only on screen for like 8 minutes. It's like the first movie he's on screen for like 4 minutes of the total runtime. And it's like, pick and choose your battles, guys. You know, you're telling me the original is the best movie you've ever seen and then complaining that he's not in this one enough, but he's in this one more than he was in the original. And I think that's the case for this one here. But I would like to see more development of each individual character, especially considering most of them are similar to what they were in the originals, where you've got the Chatterer, who's obviously the biting. He gets a lot of development here. You see him put his sort of actions to purpose. But I think like some of the other characters which look really cool, like the guy who had like the flat face and no head and it was just sort of looked like a pancake head. I was like, oh man, that's awesome. I'd love to see him do something.
He looks like he's been like run over by a truck in Looney Tunes land and then like appear. Like he literally looks like a truck's run him over and squished him. He's great. Looks awesome.
Yeah, he's like the guy from Beetlejuice who goes like through on the washing line.
Yeah, exactly that. And
he's really cool. I like the one that looks like the obviously you're not a Lord of the Rings fan, but the guy in the Two Towers who goes running through with the grenade and then blows up the hole to get everybody in. Yeah, there's the one that looks like that. And I'm like, oh, he's really cool. And then at the end of the movie, you see them all gathering in the courtyard, and it looks like there's about 7 or 8 of them, but only 3 of them actually come into the main mansion. I'm like, oh, let me see what the rest of them look like. You all look fantastic, and I want to see more of it.
Yeah, and one thing I think they've done very well here is the way they used the Cenobites. So as the story progresses, obviously Riley, they're not taking Riley. We find out why later. But every time someone takes the box, Riley sees them. And we don't see a lot of them when they take these people down. We get glimpses and we see a bit here and a bit there, and they're introduced slowly. And it's not until they get to the house from 13 Ghosts, which I think looks cool. We'll talk about that in a
It's
minute.
pretty early on
When they-
that though, man, because I was really surprised
Yeah.
on this rewatch. It was like 50 minutes in on a 2-hour movie. I was like, I'm sure this was like the last 20 minutes of the film, but no, you get there pretty early on in this film.
Yeah, and like when they get there and they kind of work out roughly what's going on, they know that the box opens a dimension to another world, and they're trying to find Riley's brother. And when you get all of the Cenobites just rock up, and they don't come in, they don't do anything, they just stand outside and wait. Like that is like, oh, you're so fucked. I think I actually said you're so fucked when I watched this one. They all just like pulled up outside and went, yeah, we're here. Especially the bit where they chase the guy and like they pin them against that grate, that fence.
Yeah, the
And he's
chatter,
fucking
the
trying to,
chatterer, yeah.
oh mate, like that.
That's a cool scene.
I would have punched him without a doubt.
I do like that. But the thing is as well that I really like, again, it's not glorifying Jamie Clayton's performance. I think this is more down to the writing than anything else, is how when she meets her on the bridge later on and she's like, you know, she's going to throw the lament configuration into the water. And she's like, no, don't do it. We need 2 more victims and you can have your brother back. And that's all really cool. But where this movie gets a little bit wish-washy for me is in terms of, like, in the original Hellraiser movie, the Cenobites are not confined by spaces and real-world sort of movement and capture. I know he's built this mansion, which is basically like a trap, a prison, and all the rest of it, which we get into later. But it just loses me a bit with like the flashbacks and the dream sequences that she's seeing her brother, and it's like, that's fine. I can digest that if you can show me that it's the Cenobites giving her this vision, or she has some sort of connection from touching the box or being the one that first started the sequence in the box, so she's able to connect with those on the other side. Or is it real or is it not real, or is it just in her imagination? Like, I just needed more clarification on those sides of the story in order to make everything that was happening a little bit more cohesive, in my opinion. Because it's not that I didn't like it and I didn't buy into it, and I thought those scenes were fantastic. It just wasn't fully fleshed out enough for me to be like, but why? Why is that happening, and how is that happening?
I think it's very much implied that it is a link because she touched the box. It's implied, but they don't expressly say it. Like, I read it as she started the sequence. So as far as Hell Priest and all of the other Cenobites are concerned, is she's the one who gets the reward, and it's now her job to ensure that they get their pound of flesh from every.
So you're basically saying that you think that it's the Cenobites giving her these visions in order to entice her for the reward.
Yeah, that's kind of what I think it is, and I think that's what happened with the billionaire at the beginning as well. That's how I made that connection. It's like the billionaire has got people to touch this box and solve the box, and he's never touched it apart from the first day he got it. And Riley is very much the same. And I think that was my interpretation. I could be wrong, but that's how I viewed the film.
So it's basically like they're like the genies of the lamp. So grant me 3 wishes and then I get my freedom, kind of thing. Give me 6 victims and then you get your reward.
Yeah, exactly that. One thing I love, and I thought it was such a well shot scene, and it's genuinely fucking creepy as fuck. When they're working out, but before they get to the house, they're working out where this box come from, and they track down the old lady who's in the nursing home on her oxygen, and they go to see her. And they're like, "Oh yeah, you worked for this guy, and you know the box." And she's like, "No." Like, you do? And she puts the box on the table. The look on the woman's face is like, "Oh fuck, I'm so fucked. Don't come near me."
So that's Sabrina. She's the lady from the beginning who entices the young man into the gallery room to pick up the lament configuration. So she works for the billionaire, is that right?
Yeah, she did.
I thought that was the case.
Yeah, so she worked for the billionaire until his death, in inverted commas. And then she got sick and old and ended up in the home. And this is where she tried, like, Riley tries to give her the box, and she like pushes it back to Riley. And as they're squabbling over the box stabs her. And then Riley leaves. And after Riley's left, the nurses like wheel her into a room to deal with a cut on her hand. and the way all of the walls and stuff just like peel back and reveal
Yeah,
this
it's cool.
big open expanse of hell, and the way she tries to run, she's on her oxygen, she's old, and like the way they stalk her, like they don't actively chase her, they just all slowly walk from different directions until she's at a point where she's just surrounded and she just has to basically submit and go, yeah, fine, kill me.
Yeah. I mean, I
Awful.
think at that point, you know enough, you've seen enough. The characters in this movie have seen enough. Every time they try to run, I'm like, Trevor says the most poignant thing at the end, and he's like to the her brother's boyfriend, he's like, mate, just give it up. Just like, it's over. What are you doing? Why are you trying to escape? I mean, thankfully enough for him, it wasn't. But in that case, Trevor, I was like, yeah, Trevor's right. He's got a point. You know, you can't escape this. One of my favorite ones of those in terms of the walls moving and opening and stuff like that. The best one in the entire movie is the back of the van. Because
Yes.
when they was doing that chase sequence with the back of the van and you see the floor, I don't know. I couldn't work out in that moment because they're driving around the maze garden, which I didn't realize was a maze garden until sort of later on in the movie when you get the big diamond thing coming down to the roof. And you see that it is a massive maze garden. I didn't know if they were getting lost in the maze or if the maze was changing as they were trying to find their way out of it. Because you keep seeing these holes in the floor appear. I didn't know if that was them trying to like capture them or. Anyway, that's by the by. The point is that back of the van segment, I was like, oh, they're in the van and they're moving constantly at a certain speed. Like, how are they going to get her here? And she starts going dizzy in the back of the van, and the van just sort of goes like a limo into these like brick wall sort of hell thing, and it just looked fucking awesome, man. I was like, oh, that's so cool. But one thing that I do find annoying in this movie, which I don't think they should have done, is. So you remember the latest Candyman adaptation?
Yes.
In that movie, when people die, people don't see Candyman, but they see the people die in front of them. And they see them just miraculously get a hole in their chest or something from a hook, even though they don't see what's happening. Like when you see it in the mirrors.
Nightmare on Elm Street.
Yeah. And you got that cool scene in the Candyman remake where they're killing that guy, and then you see Candyman in the mirrors in that like sort of warehouse thing, but then you don't see it, and it keeps switching back and forth between the two. Best part about that Candyman movie. They didn't do that in this movie ever. Like they didn't ever showcase somebody dying with an audience, a real world audience, even though it happens multiple times. And the back of the van one was a perfect explanation for that. They could have done that and showcase, because Riley looked in her rearview mirror and saw it happen and saw her die.
Yeah.
But then we didn't see what she saw, and it pissed me off so much, man. I was like, I want to know what she's seeing. Does she just see her the same way that we saw them die in the Candyman movie, or does she see the Cenobites taking her in that instant and see the chains and the hooks and all the rest of it? And I was like, such a missed opportunity to explain something so basic. And yeah, I don't know. That annoyed me a lot in this movie when they did that. And again, it didn't take away anything from the movie. It was just something more on my mind. I was like, how is that happening? Why is that happening? Can I see that and see what they're seeing?
Yeah, and it didn't bother me. I'll be honest. I had the same gripe, but it didn't bother me enough that I went, oh, that's really annoying. I was kind of like, nah. I just let it go by. One thing in this that I wasn't expecting was the billionaire not to be dead. Like,
no.
I
didn't expect Trevor either. They do a really good job of doing the whole scream reveal kind of thing at the end.
Yeah, Trevor is a scumbag, like Billy Loomis level scumbag. He's been banging and dating Riley for months and months and months to get to the point where he could get her to go and get the box, to then let her work it out herself, to get to the... It's really fucking elaborate. And
I don't think it was that elaborate. I know what you're saying, but I don't think he purposely seeked her out and then got with her. And then I think it was more just he was dating her coincidentally, and then he was approached by the billionaire and he just offloaded it onto her once he'd done so. I don't think it was some sort of setup scheme from the beginning to trap her into the situation, because there's nothing special about her in this movie. Like, they don't do anything in this film to be like, yeah, she's vulnerable and only vulnerable people can do the lament configuration box. If that was implemented, then I would be like, yeah, maybe he has chosen her. He went to the Alcoholics Anonymous group to pick her out from the beginning, but They don't do that in this movie at all. I think he's just a chancer, got offered the money to rob it, and offloaded it onto her.
Yeah,
But I could
and
be wrong. I could be wrong.
How much did that backfire on him? Because his death is fucking great.
Oh, his death's awesome, man.
Like,
His death is really cool. When it starts filleting his skin off his arm, the piano wire grabs it and starts pulling it down. I was like, fine. It's so tight around his neck, he can't even scream in pain or anything. I was like, yeah, man, I don't even care. You deserve it.
And what makes that so much better is it's one of Riley's friends that's already been caught by the Cenobite, and all the wires are wrapped around his wrists and his arms and his neck. And this is where Riley challenges the Cenobite and goes, hang on a minute. I was told by like your boss lady, the lady with all the pins, she told me it's my choice. And the Cenobite pauses and goes, well, it is. And she's gone, oh, good. And then she looks at Trevor, and Trevor just has that look on his face of, oh, I'm in so much trouble now. But yeah, when it gets his arm and he tries pulling his arm down and it degloves him from the elbow to the wrist, I was like,
it's awful.
And I've seen loads of people complain that this isn't very gory, but I would argue this is one of the more gory of the Hellraiser movies. It doesn't
without
hold
a doubt.
back.
I mean, I've only seen the first 4, but it's definitely the most goriest of those movies. I mean, the thing is, you've got Frank, who's like
sticky,
no flesh or anything like that. But, I mean, the scenes in this, well, yeah, he's sticky. Yeah, he's a very sticky man. But that is about as gory as those Hellraiser movies get, in a sense. I know when they rip him apart at the end, it's a very cool scene, but it's very dated. Here, the practical effects, like that scene where she has that vision of her brother and she runs over and hugs him and puts her hands on his back and all his back's missing, and it's fucking gross, man. And even just the best one for me was the regeneration of the billionaire at the end, where his contraption falls out and then all his spine starts rebuilding and his skin starts rebuilding. I'm like, that looks fucking incredible, man. And the pain on his face as it's all happening was just so well done.
He's a really good actor as well. I don't know who he is, but I thought his performance was really good. That device he's got in his chest and his explanation, he's like, he basically he got his wish, and his wish was to feel everything.
It was pleasure, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was pleasure. Yeah, it was sensations that he hadn't felt before. So they put this device on his chest that goes right through him, and then all of his tendons and all of his nerves are linked through this device. And every 3 minutes, these cogs turn and yank on all of his nerves and tendons, making like every single part of his body feel excruciating pain. I'd want to die. Like that would be
and even he does, which I think is fucking awesome when he finally has his confrontation with Pinhead at the end, or the priestess as it's known in this movie, the Hell Priestess. When he has the confrontation with her, and he's like, I just don't want it. I don't want it anymore. Just kill me. Just let me die. I'm done. I can't take this anymore. And then I don't know whether, I can't remember, I don't think it's here where she says a line, we have such sights to show you. I think it's earlier on when we was talking about it with the chain, with the woman, wasn't it? That's when we do the iconic I have such sights to show you line. Yeah. Which, again, I think she nailed perfectly. It sounded really cool. It wasn't so on the nose either.
No, I think a lot of the nods they done in this were very subtle. So they drop in a couple of lines. I think Trevor says one of the lines that Pinhead says, her brother does, and I think her friend who gets absolutely fucked by Pinhead with the chains and like that gets the pin like shoved in her, like that one, she says a line as well. Yeah. Oh, mate. That
one thing I want to ask about the pins is like, because the pins in this, all of them have the pins.
Yeah.
Like the opal capped pins. And again, it's like they have a purpose, they have a meaning. Like, give me a sequel and show me more.
Well, exactly that. The line that she hits the guy with when he's saying, I want this gone, like, fuck your gifts, I don't want anything, get this out of me. Her line is brilliant. It's like, well, sorry, no refunds. We do exchanges, though, is basically what she says. Like, we can't give you your money back. Once you've started down this path, you're like in. It's like an
You
Apple
can only
phone
go further
contract.
down the road. Yeah.
Yeah, it's like
We
when
can
you buy an
upgrade
Apple
you, but
phone.
we can't downgrade you.
Exactly that. You can't leave. You can only get an upgrade now. And he basically says that he wants like anything. It's like, how about power? He's like, do you know what? That's a good deal. And this is where he gets sort of sucked up into the sky. The face off between sort of the Cenobites and this, I think this last section where everyone's kind of running around and they'd like got Cenobites trapped in the magical doors of the magical palace that only traps Cenobites. Like, I find this bit a little bit Scooby-Doo-ish.
Yeah, I mean, but it has a purpose, though. I mean, they're all. I mean, before he has his bargain with Pinhead at the end, they're all trapped, and his bargaining chip was, "This house is a prison. I've caught you here." It's the whole Laurie Strode thing from the end of Halloween 18. It's like, I've caught you here. Until I get what I want, you're all going to stay here, and you're not going anywhere. He's basically imprisoned them all in individual cells, and it's like, until I get this out of me, and until I get my life back, you're all staying here. But thankfully enough, Riley unlocks the switches, lets them all in, and that's when he basically has to have that final showdown. I know what you're saying regarding the Scooby-Doo aspect of it, but for me, I think this is the best part of the movie. I didn't begrudge anything that happened here. I liked the way that it all played out, and I think it all flowed very naturally and very well to a big enough climax that I wasn't underwhelmed in any way by it. Most of the time with these kind of movies, you get that kind of defeat of the villains kind of thing, but you don't get that here. Nobody's defeated, nobody's won, everybody loses in this movie.
Yeah, I think what's clever about this is when everyone's done their sacrifice and everyone's been stuck by the box, and Riley's left with the box, and it's Riley and Hellpriest. It's like, choose your reward. And Riley's like, I don't want anything at all, like absolutely nothing. It's like, then you've chosen. And you can see like the actress who plays Riley done this really well. The look of no, I didn't pick anything. Like that look of sheer terror in just that split second before Hellpriest goes.
But even the conversation from the Hellpriest, and she's like, you've chosen a life of regret, a life of knowing everything you've done here has been for nothing, something you will have to live with for the rest of your life. And I was like, oh, now that is the fucking coldest burn I've ever fucking seen in my life. Like, you've basically just told her you've caused all this death and all this misery, and you're going to walk away with nothing from it, and you have to live with that for the rest of your life.
Yeah,
that is a fitting punishment enough.
Yeah, you've chosen the lament configuration, and we'll get into it when we do facts, but I like the fact that each configuration represents something else, and each configuration is a very unique punishment linked to that configuration of how they die. We'll talk about it in facts, but I thought that was really cool. End credit scene, the transformation the billionaire. Like, he's going to be the guy from 2, isn't he? He's going to be the one who's attached to the giant,
the doctor kind of thing that you get at the end of the sequel.
Yeah, I think when we do get a sequel, because we will get a sequel for this, they're still
but I don't think we will.
I saw there was an update at the end of 2024 from the director and the producer that it is in production, but it's going slowly.
Yeah, I'll be really, really surprised, man. I hope it happens. I feel like this movie warrants it and it deserves it. I just think at this point, I'll be surprised if it happens.
Yeah, well, we'll see. If it does, I'm sure we'll cover it. But yeah, this transformation is brilliant. Like the tearing of his flesh from his body is god awful.
Yeah, it's really, really good. It's always one of the things that always had me curious. I know we get to see the transformation of Pinhead in, I think it's part 3, because they do quite a lot of flashback stuff in that
That's
movie.
where they flash back to when he's in the army.
In the army and stuff, yeah. And you do kind of get to see Pinhead's transformation. It's nowhere near as cool as this, and it has nowhere near the impact or explanation as to how it's happening or why it's happening. I really, really liked this end credit sequence. I thought it was awesome. I just don't feel like his I don't know if it was a complete transformation that we witnessed, if that was his final state, or if we just saw a snippet of the beginning of his transformation. But the overall look of him, I was a bit underwhelmed by, considering how great all the other Cenobites looked in the movie. I was like, oh, you could have made him look so much more cooler. All they really did was just ripped his cheeks and then pulled a few bits of flesh off his shins, and I was like, he could look better than that.
Yeah, and
Oh, they ripped his knob off as well.
They did rip his knob off. That did make me go, what'd you do that for? Like, don't do that. Yeah, I'll be honest. Like, there's not a lot to this movie. It's a very for a movie that's very, very complicated in its overall premise. It's a very straightforward A to B. Girl gets box. 6 people touch box and die. Cenobites rock up. She decides to take nothing for everything that happened. The end. That's pretty much this movie in a nutshell.
It is, and I think the biggest problem with it in terms of dissecting it on a podcast is this is a remake. So probably 100% of the people, if at least I would say 100% or at least 99% of the people who are listening to this show right now are horror fans. And if you're a horror fan, you've seen a Hellraiser movie, which means me and Scott dissecting what a Cenobite is and who a Cenobite is and where they come from and what they are and what the purpose of a Cenobite is doesn't make intriguing listening, considering you've been talking about it for the past 30, 40 years being a Hellraiser fan.
You were one step away from buttered sausage. You're like, what is a Cenobite? Where do they come from? How do I eat them?
But that's my point, though. And I think that's one thing that we always struggle with when we're talking about remakes, is because we have to try and talk about the things that are different and make the story change and what they did right and what they did wrong. But in essence, the through line is the same. And talking about it over and over again is something that many podcasts have done a million times over when talking about the original or the 11 movies that came after it. So it's like, there's only so much you can say about this movie without sounding tiresome, because everybody knows what a Hellraiser movie is and everybody knows the purpose of these characters, give or take a few minor changes here. And I think that's what makes talking about this movie a little bit harder than it should be.
Which then begs the question, should we go into your recommended account of the week?
Let's wrap it there, man.
Okay, let's give you a soundbite.
Stewie, Daddy's just going to take the iPad into the bathroom, okay? He took my Etch-a-Sketch.
Siri, show me busty Latinas. Busty Latinas. Can somebody reset the Wi-Fi?
Man, I haven't watched Family Guy in years. Is that show still on?
Yeah, that is one of my favorite scenes in all of Family Guy. It's fucking. I think Stewie is by far the greatest animated character of all time, just for how dry and just brilliant character.
Are the new episodes any good?
I've not seen a lot of the newer stuff. I'll be honest. I'm very much if I watch a Simpsons episode, it's from the year 1999. If I watch a Family Guy episode, it's from 2004. Like I'm very much in that, and like I'll dig out like old American Dad episodes and shit like that because I love Brian. Like I love all of those. But yeah, Family Guy for me is just peak comedy.
I'm the same. If I watch a Simpson, I'll go back and watch like the old Treehouse of Horrors, or I'll go and watch the Christmas episode where they go to the dog track and get Santa's little helper for the first time, or the one where Bart gets a tattoo. Like, I'm the 90s Simpson guy. I haven't watched anything past when the movie came out, I don't think. Same with Family Guy. I think I've watched maybe up to like season 6 when they were on DVD. Or they used to play on ITV2 here in the UK. I don't even know if they still do. I can't remember the last time I watched live TV, to be honest with you. Anyway, I digress. This recommended account of the week time.
It is.
Coming day and night.
So this week's recommended account of the week is filth_cult_rewind. Filth Cult Rewind is a retro filth enthusiast, splatter and B-movie horror freak, and supporting all independent films. I brought this one to attention this week because I feel like I've been doing a lot of stuff that's not really... They're horror-centric, but in terms of like generalized horror stuff where you can go and... It's a movie-based account is my point. I've been doing stuff with everything horror related other than really movie related accounts, whereas this one shares reels of scenes from gory splatterfest movies of yesteryear. It's a great account, especially, again, it's one of those accounts where you just randomly come across one of their reels and you're like, ooh, that's a really cool kill scene. What movie is that from? And then you'll go and seek that movie out. So I think it's a good account to have in your arsenal on Instagram when you're doom scrolling late at night, because it certainly popped up a fair few movies for me where I'm like, oh, I want to check that out. So go and check them out at filth_cult_rewind on Instagram.
Spiral swirly thing. Shenanigans like this are par for the course at Fans of the Dead. Whether it's reviewing a brand new horror movie every single month or taking you on a deep dive tangent into something related to the horror world, Fans of the Dead is the place to go for fun, entertainment and laughter.
It's part of that family, like, you know, not wanting to be.
Kind of his fault.
And he's kind of saying, like, stay on the road, stay safe.
The Horror Friendly Podcast is a podcast with bite. Hosted by Katie and Chantel, this is full of banter, full of jibes, full of laughs, and full of alcohol. And bad language. This show literally has everything you could possibly desire as a horror fan. For these and many other entertaining shows, head over to yourunpodcast.com. Check them out today. So make sure you go and show the recommended account of the week some love. Mark spends literally minutes choosing these. No, just joking aside, Mark puts a lot of work into the recommended account of the week and finding...
I'll be honest with you, I don't. I really don't.
You do, because you find cool and different accounts each week, and he does it to make your Instagram viewing more pleasurable. So do go and show them some love. Also go to yourunpodcast.com, where you can find all the incredible members of the You Run Podcast Network, all of their shows. You'll also find links to our shows and our socials and our shop, where you can buy cool merchandise. You can wear it to a work meeting or to visit your nan. You can't do that with any of our shirts, but well, you could, but I don't think your nan would like it if you rocked up in a I'm more kinky than a Cenobite t-shirt. But hey, if you don't want to go to our website, it's a little bit weird, but fine, I'll allow it. You can go and follow us at You Run Podcast on all social medias. We're pretty much everywhere. If you follow us on Instagram, that's where you can vote for episodes. It's also where you can follow my wonderful co-host. He's VHS from the Crypts. If visuals of old VHS tapes get you off, that's your thing. Or reviews from the Crypt. If deep dive descriptions of B-movie trash ignite your inner desire, Mark 100% has you covered there. Don't forget, you can share your opinions on the show and on episodes that we cover, and our opinions of movies or us as a whole at yourunpodcast@gmail.com, or you can send us a voicemail DM on X or Instagram, or record a TikTok, tag us in it, and we'll drop that into the episode as well. We would love for you to support the show. There's lots of ways you can do it. You can share an episode with a friend, really simple. Share it to your story, repost it, whatever. Leave us a 5-star review on Apple or Spotify. This really helps us go up in the charts and lets more people find us. You can comment on an episode on Spotify or on YouTube, or you can visit our merch shop at yourunpodcast.com and put some money back into the show. And coming soon, our Patreon. Finally, after all these years, we're going to get a Patreon, because me and Mark are so intent.
Here comes the money.
Here we go. Money talk.
Here comes the money.
I've done the lottery tonight for the first time ever, man. So I might not be here next week anyway.
Well, you will, but we'll be recording from our private studio in the Bahamas.
Fuck you, man. I'm leaving you in the dust. I'll be on my private jet looking down on you out of my special window.
To be fair, if you're on a plane, you will get a special window. It'll be the one you can lick. Anyway, if you do sign up to our Patreon, you'll get early access to episodes. You'll also get episodes completely ad-free, so you won't listen to any of this. If you subscribe to a certain tier, you'll also get 2 extra shows a month. One of me and Mark doing horror movie review, well, it won't be horror movie review, a horror movie podcast, and me and Heather doing a true crime podcast. You get one each of those, but as soon as we launch it, you'll get all the information on that. Let's do something factual.
It's factual. Can someone put it on the computer?
So Doug Bradley, who is Pinhead, like if you said to anyone who's Pinhead, they're going to say Doug Bradley. He had thoughts and opinions on Jamie Clayton's appearance, and the man is a legend because he's very respectful of what he done to the franchise, but also very aware that things need to evolve and move on. And I kind of wanted to share what he had to say because I thought it was really cool and really honest of him as well. He said, "I'm a bit blown away by this. The clever redesign of the makeup, the shimmer of the pinheads, the palette, whatever keyhole locket trachometry thing that's in her throat. It's simple, subtle, disturbing, and sexy. Everything that it should be. Peace and pain. Lots of love, Doug."
He has gone back and forth on that statement a few times over the past few years. I remember one article that I read where he was quite a bit of a dickhead regarding her performance.
Yeah, and I'm going to take what he initially said when it was released, not when he's in the mode that he's trying now to get a reboot that he can be involved in. And that's kind of...
I mean, I don't think it's necessarily that. I think he's just at that age where he's like John Carpenter, where they just say shit and forget what they said 2 months earlier.
He's a cantankerous old man.
He's just a fucking whingy old cunt, man. And they're like, he's just saying shit for the sake of saying it, depending on his mood of the day. And I get it. I have those days myself. There's days where I love certain movies, and there's days where I'll fucking hate up on them. And I think it's one of those instances with him. Like, if he'd have glorified every single thing throughout all the interviews I'd read over the past few years since this movie had been released, I'd be like, yeah, Doug, man, that's awesome that you're championing her performance and passing the torch and doing it in a glorified way. But yeah, he said some things that I'm like, oh, dude, you sound bitter now. You sound like resentful. So yeah. I mean, that interview initially is awesome. I wish he'd have just stuck with the story that he said there.
Yeah, I do as well, because he has been a bit of a dick in further interviews. The configurations of the puzzle box. So you have the lament configuration, which is the square one, which represents life, which is why Riley chose it at the end, and her reward was life, a shit life with guilt of what you've done. You've got law, which represents knowledge. You've got ludorant, which is love. Liminal, which is sensation, which is what the rich man wished for in the beginning. The billionaire wanted liminal, which is sensation. You've got Lazarus, which is resurrection, which is the one that Hellpriest, they offered to Riley to bring her brother back, and she refused. And then the final one you've got is Leviathan, which is power, which is what the billionaire traded to get. And I'd like if they do a sequel for us to see the other ones. I'd like to see what love, if you pick love from the puzzle box, I want to know what twisted, nasty version of love you get, because...
And that's one thing about the ending of this movie as well, is like, as much as I feel like Riley made the right decision, I wanted to know what the repercussions would be had she not, and had she chose to bring him back.
Yeah, I think that'd have been cool. When Riley goes into the mansion and she's digging through all the papers to try and work everything out, we get shots of portraits and things of Cenobites. One of the Cenobites is a Cenobite we've not seen, and it's one that I want to see because it's mentioned in the Books of Blood, and that is the Cenobite called Mother, who's a pregnant Cenobite.
Oh yeah, we saw it in this movie though, briefly, didn't we?
Very, very like quick glimpse, but no.
Yeah,
more.
Not just in the book though. She was one of the ones in the courtyard, and then you saw her. Was it down in the Red Chamber where the guy was trying to escape and he ran one direction and she came out and she was pregnant?
Yeah, but she didn't.
You saw her in full prosthetic. No, she did. No. That's my point. In this, that's what I was saying earlier about there's so many cool Cenobites, but you do get a little bit of focus upon her in this film, and do get to see the prosthetics and all the rest of it and how she would look. I know they glance upon it in the book where Riley's skimming through it earlier, but you do see it visually on screen later on. But no, you don't get to see anything happen with it.
No, and I think she's adding the element of a pregnant Cenobite just adds a whole nother level of I don't like this to that character. Like,
yeah, I mean, what's your favorite Cenobite so far in the movies that you've seen?
Head.
CD head. I knew of all the things. Yeah, I was like, that was one of the biggest things that pissed me off about Hellraiser 3, and I was like, I bet he picks that one.
It's the most stupid Cenobite ever. And it's not my favorite because it's the coolest. It's my favorite because I'm like, I look at it and go, at what point in that production meeting did everyone go, that's a good idea, let's do that? What was there not one person in there who went, technology advances, like maybe we shouldn't do CD head. It'd be like if we'd done like cassette tape head in the
floppy disk head.
That wouldn't be relevant now. And they just, someone in that production meeting steamrolled whoever said no and made it a thing. And
yeah, I think for me, mine would probably be the twins. Have you seen those yet? Have you got as far in as the twins? They're fucking awesome. The kill where they separate and merge on that guy. Fucking awesome kill.
Yeah, I've done the entirety of the Hellraiser franchise. I love the Hellraiser. It's diving into that religious style heaven and hell stuff that I really like. So I love all this and I love all the lore, which is why I really like this one, because of all of that additional lore that they add. Like, I really like that. I like these movies. Yeah. So I said earlier, they replaced the PVC for the sort of peeled back flesh look of the Cenobites. This was actually decided by Clive Barker and the director before they started filming. And it was Clive Barker's decision overall, because he went, look, this is how I depicted them in the books, like this. And the way that we used leather in the 80s was to highlight an underground scene of BDSM. BDSM is the most mainstream shit that you see on every single social media platform. Whacking them all in leather and ball gags is not going to have any impact whatsoever now.
No, having them walk out like they've come off the set of 50 Shades of Grey would be laughable, in my opinion. I'm so glad they went away from that decision.
Yeah, I am. So the idea of Pinhead being a female character is not something new. And lots of people complained when Jamie Clayton was cast that it was a female depiction of Pinhead. So in the book Hellbound Heart, the Pinhead or the Cenobites do not have a gender. They're described as genderless. And Pinhead or Hellpriest is distinctly said to be speaking in a softly spoken feminine voice, which is exactly what we get here. Also, in the comic books, if you like the comic books, Kirsty becomes a Cenobite.
She does, yes. I know that. I haven't read the books, but I do know that becomes a thing. And I need to get the comic books, man, and I do want to read them, but they're so fucking expensive. I might just illegally download them. Just on an ebook. I don't care. FBI come at me. That's what I'm doing, because I aren't paying like fucking 50 quid a comic book just to read it. It's just ridiculous. But I do want to see that. But like the whole one thing, my biggest gripe is with
No. You're going to illegally download them. Is that right?
Yeah. Fuck the police.
FBI, open up!
Oh, mate, honestly, I tell you now, if you guys went on my computer hard drive, every movie I watch for this podcast is illegally downloaded. I don't care. I'm airing it right now. Do you know what? It's so hard, though, man, because most of the shit I want to watch is not on streaming.
No.
And I'm not paying for it. That's why we're introducing a Patreon. Pay me, and I will pay for things. But I'm not buying it. I'm not paying for it, so I will illegally download it. If you all want the links, come at me in the DMs and I'll show you how I do it. Anyway, my point is like, do you know the whole gender neutral thing?
Yeah.
But like, how is that even a thing? How is that even possible? Because we know that the Cenobites were originally people, so they obviously started out as a gender.
Yes,
I know they ripped his nuts off at the end, but he still was a man when they ripped his nuts off.
Yeah, but they do the same with all the Cenobites. So they in the books, that's not that they're genderless. They are demonic entities that are completely genderless. It's not a case of they were human versus they are just genderless.
What?
demons.
So they didn't start out as humans. So he's an exception to the cause. So then Doug Bradley's Pinhead is not an exception to the cause.
Yeah. So some of them did. The books are. You need to read the books to fully grasp it. I can't sit and explain it because we'll have to do another podcast to go through it.
I'm just basing this on movie lore, and everything that I've seen in movie lore, they've all started out as people and been turned to Cenobites. Therefore, they were either male or female to start with.
Yeah. Well, the Gasp Cenobite. So this is the one who I said looks really cool. So this is the skin of her throat being cut. And did you notice that her throat looked like something after it had been
like
cut?
A vagina.
Deliberate design to look like a vagina. And the reason they done this is because they wanted it to be similar to the Cenobite from Hellraiser 2, which had the same thing on the throat and then the cat. Yeah, cool.
Yeah, she was the Hell Queen or something like that, I think she was.
Yeah, that's it. This is the first Hellraiser movie to have a female Pinhead. In the original novella, Clive Barker described the Hell Priest as genderless. Also, in the novel, they go down the route of that she would be very seductive to both male and female. Like in the novella, she was a temptress.
Yeah.
Less demonic entity coming to get you, more if you do this for me, you can have this. There was a lot more of promising of stuff, which they don't do in this. They do a little bit in this, but in none of the other movies, there's never we'll give you a reward for all the shit you've done for us. They just don't do that.
No, and that's one thing that I really like that was implied here is the whole siren aspect of it.
Yeah. We've got some voicemails. Let's start with Dave. This come after Jaws 2. This message. This is directly aimed at you, and I want to see if you can guess what Dave's talking about.
Holy shit. That was the funniest thing I've ever witnessed in my entire life. Oh, thank you, Mark.
No. The thing is, do you know what's the most worrying thing about this podcast, right? We come in here, we sup beers, we have a good laugh, we have a good jolly. Especially sometimes if we're doing double episodes like back to back, the beers flow through from the first episode onto the second. I say a lot of shit.
Yeah.
Like I'm riddled with anxiety every Monday morning when an episode comes out. I'm like, oh fuck, what have I done this week? Because 9 times out of 10, my inbox is flooded with, dude, why did you say that?
Yeah.
And the Jaws 2 episode is no exception, I'll be honest with you. I vaguely remember my very, very poor David Attenborough impression, and that's about as far as my knowledge goes from that episode.
That is what that's from. That was Dave's, because he's messaged me that, and I messaged him back, which bit Mark was gold for this entire episode. He's like, David Attenborough, I choked. Like, I was laughing so hard when he done his Attenboroughs. And then even Jim from Jim's Retro Emporium said it sounded like a cross between, who was it, Louis Spence and someone else. It was very, very good.
It was great. It was great. The thing is, that episode was a good episode, man. We were on fire on Jaws 2.
Yeah, it hit our top 10 of the year in 24 hours. Like, just shot past. And it's all because people went on, like I said earlier, share the episodes. It helps us out. Everyone went on and went, fucking hell, Mark's impression of this. Oh, did you see Scott sounds like Mr. Tumble? Like, and then people were like, Scott sounds like Mr. Tumble. Mark sounds like David Attenborough. I need to listen. I got a message going, I've seen 3 people say that Mark done a David Attenborough impression. I was listening tomorrow, but I'm now listening now because I have to hear it.
Yeah, man, the power of social media, guys. There you go. There's evidence for you alone. If anything matters, share it on your stories. People will check it out. We will be eternally grateful for it too.
Who else did we get?
Just about finished with the Jaws 2 episode. I will go ahead and be negative Nancy and be like, I don't like Jaws. I don't really even care for the franchise. The first one is the only one that I would even watch or rewatch. I think I've only seen up to 3, part 3, but I didn't get into them because, like, sharks, like, fuck those sharks. For real. Like, I'm not going in the ocean. They're not going to fucking eat my kneecaps. I don't think so. So I get the appeal, but it's not very scary. The first movie is so boring to me because it's kind of like Friday the 13th, the original. You're waiting, and then you finally see the shark, and then you're like, okay, bye. You know what? It's not that scary. Anyways, sometimes people build shit up in their head, and I think they want to make something a bigger deal than it is. Which leads me into my next talking point. Blippy shitting on someone. That's gross. I mean, 10 out of 10, don't be dookie on anybody. Unless, I mean, that's your kink. I don't know. That's your thing. But you go ahead and do that. Don't tell me about it. But after reading more about it, because I finally found like a little small article about it, yeah, like he did it. But have you guys ever watched an episode of Jackass?
Yeah.
They do stuff probably questionably worse than that. They smash their dingers and stuff. They staple their butt cheeks together. They stick, I think one of them stuck a toy car up his asshole. Come on now. I mean, I get it. Blippy is for the children demographic and Jackass is not. But at the same time, Blippy, he got that money. Y'all, he got that Blippy money. All that shit gone, nobody even knows. And first of all, he's not even Blippy anymore. Because somebody else took over his role and he cashed out, bitch. Like at the casino, he cashed out. Anyway, that was all I wanted to say for now. I'm so glad you played my messages. Although I never remember that I leave a message and then all of a sudden it's like, Wednesday Wine and Horrors tagged in this post. And I'm like, okay, go off. Okay, that's all I have to say. Hope you guys are having a swell Monday. Bye.
I'm gonna move past the Blippy stuff because I feel like we need to end it now because I don't care enough about Blippy to keep going on about it.
No,
but I am blown away by the fact that Heather has said the reveal of Jaws has made her go, meh. If I put a great white shark in your bathtub and you just saw it because it was there, you just like, I'll just get in and take a shower next to it.
In her bathtub. Well, she does live in Texas. Everything's bigger in Texas. So,
well, you know what I mean, though. You know, like, well, she lives in Texas. In her swimming pool in her garden. You would not be like, oh yeah, I'll just do some laps next to this great white shark. It's not intimidating anymore because I've seen it.
Yeah, well, I'm going to let you fight that battle. For the first time in a long time, we just simply asked people what they think of this movie. This was a quite a divisive movie when it was released. And I wanted to get the general feel of people out in the world. We got loads of response. I've picked some of the best. I've tried to give an even-ish spread. Lumberjay Reviews. This is Jay from the Girl and the Gay podcast. First Hellraiser I've seen. I loved it. Jamie was great as Hell Priest, and I'd love to see a sequel. Yeah, me too. Where's Paul Photo? More clever punishments than before. But I was surprised they didn't go harder on the gore. Overall, really happy with it. I mentioned this earlier. Loads of people said about the lack of gore in this. This movie's gory as hell.
I thought so. I think people are spoiled these days.
Yeah, I agree. Charlie Steeds, loved it. Need a sequel ASAP. Stevie X Miranda, Hellraiser, the original is my favourite film, so I was super hesitant before viewing the remake. The remake is a good film, so much better than I expected. I feel like it's an alternative universe version of the lore of Hellraiser. Terrorific Lady, this is how a remake or reimagining should be. It done its own thing, expanded on the lore while being as faithful as it could to what came before. Yeah, I agree with that as well. And finally, to give some real balance, OGES Quad. Oh no, OG Squad 410.
Kids these days, honestly.
Yeah, they went simply with garbage. Wasn't even scary. I disagree.
I think the thing is as well, when you try and dissect a movie these days based on scariness, it's very difficult. Like, that was the kind of thing that I did when I was like 16, 17. You know, when I was watching horror movies, like, oh, I wasn't scared. Like, I don't expect to be scared by a horror movie anymore. Like, I don't go into a horror film thinking, oh, I hope this one scares me, because that's not why I'm going there. I'm just going for a unique and twisted tale on something that's out of the norm. So I don't know if I can stand by that statement that he's just said there. Or she's just said that.
And the thing is, like, when I do find a horror movie that does scare me or does creep me out, and it does still happen, there are still movies that will get me like that. When I find one, it's such a treat and such a reward. It's like, I've waded through 300 movies of generic bullshit to finally get to something that's made me go, fuck, this is awful. And I now need to check all the doors before I go to sleep. And I think that's one of the things for me that makes horror so good, is it is difficult to find those movies. They're not every movie will scare you.
No, and I think it's about adapting unique concepts. And I think one thing that we did in the late 90s and early 2000s with the horror movie genre is we bled it dry of unique ideas with movies such as Saw and Final Destination and things that were genuinely terrifying. Hostel, for example, you know, that movie, that first Hostel movie made me not want to go on holiday in Europe for fucking 10 years solid, you know, like things like that are very difficult to come across these days because they've already been done. You know, back in the 80s and 90s, it was either possession movies, hell themed stuff, creature features, or a slasher. We went through that era in the late 90s and early 2000s where we started adapting real world horror situations. And it was terrifying. And I don't know whether that was just because of the age I was at the time of watching those movies. But for me, I went through a big period of my life being fucking shit scared of real world events because of horror. But we seem to have gone full circle now, and we're highlighting ourselves back on the slasher era and things like that. So who knows? Maybe in the next 5 years we might start. I think AI is one of those things that's probably come the closest to being a terrifying horror concept that hasn't been done very well as of yet, in my opinion. I think they've done stuff with the Megan things which are quite comical and borderline mocking and all the rest of it. But I think for me, there needs to be an AI-based movie that genuinely terrifies, and I think it's capable of being done, and that's one of the movies that I think should be concentrated on at the moment.
It's already been made. It's called Terminator 1 and 2.
Yeah, yes. All right, those movies are fucking fantastic, but what I mean is like a modern day.
Yeah,
there was
a modern day version.
That's the kind of thing that I think, or even like social media. I know there's been a few attempts at that in recent years, but I feel like
Deadstream was great.
No, it wasn't even that. Cam was the one that got me the closest. Cam on Netflix, that was
And
the one
Spree.
that I was like, holy shit, where it was like the Spree was good, but it didn't do what Cam did, where they did the whole identity theft thing.
Yeah.
That was fucking brilliant. And I think when you have such intelligent TV series like Black Mirror, that each individual episode is so fucking terrifying, man. It's hard to then not steal ideas from that show in order to be relevant with scary concepts.
Have you watched any of the new series yet?
I haven't. It's one of those that I'm just waiting for the time where I can binge it, because once I start, I'll just be on it. And I've been on Dexter. I finished Dexter, guys. I finally done my full 8-season run of Dexter, so I've got a break from that. I want to watch New Blood again, but I'm going to wait till Resurrection's sort of a couple of weeks away. I'm going to do New Blood again and then roll straight into Resurrection.
Yeah. The new season, there's an episode in that which is all about, I won't give it away, but all about a chip that's implanted, and then like subscription services that go with that, and like people running ads out of their mouth. It's really, really cool. And it's one of the best uses of how technology could affect you through things like Elon Musk's chip. It's really, really cool. So yeah, that's awesome.
What was the USS Callister sequel like?
I didn't think it was.
That was the one that I was most hyped for.
Yeah, everyone I saw online is like, this is the best episode ever. I'm like, did you watch the first episode and the second episode? Because they were fucking amazing. How is this the one that you've gone with? But
see, I really liked USS Callister on I think it was a couple of seasons ago, that episode. I thought that was fucking brilliant. So that's one of the ones that I'm most hyped for to watch this season.
Should we play a game?
Yeah.
Hey, shirt, dork.
Right. I teased a kinky game, and it's not the first time we've played a kinky game. We've played That's Not My Porno more times than I could count. We could have done that again, but I didn't want to. I wanted to do something different. We've also had Mark guess kinks by the name of the kink and what that kink was, which was very funny, but I didn't want to do that again. So today we're going a different route, and we're going to do a game of Would You Rather, which is going to give us an insight that I don't know if I want into Mark's kinks.
Oh fuck! This is gonna put me on some sort of register. I don't know if I want to do this.
Well, we'll see how you go. So, first one, would you rather spend a dirty weekend away with Hell Priest or Syl from Species?
Oh, neither of them of those have a good outcome, do they? I'm going to go with Syl.
I see. I'm going with Hell Priest. Like, I'm in for a bit of whips and chains. I think that's more interesting than being killed and eaten at the end of it.
Nah, Natasha Hendricks, man. That's yeah, Syl, definitely.
Would you rather be tied up and whipped, or tie someone else up and whip them?
Is it all about whips this week?
No. It's not. They change as we go through.
I would rather be whipped. I think I'm not one for dishing out punishment, so yeah, I think I'd rather be the whipped than the whipper.
Okay. Would you rather be pegged by your wife or pegged by a stranger?
Oh. Oh man, it's like Sophie's choice. Definitely by my wife in the comfort of my own home.
See,
the fact that no one will ever know about it.
Yeah, see, I wasn't sure about this because, like, if you do it with your wife, like, your wife always knows, and you see her every day, and you will look her in the eye every day and know that she dominated you and made you feel less than you did before she dominated you. I don't know if maybe a stranger that you never see again could be better.
See, the thing is, you don't know much about me in that sense, so you don't know whether I'm into pegging or not anywhere.
You strike me as someone who's 100% into pegging. I would not be shocked.
Fuck off!
Would you rather wake up naked next to Leatherface or next to Freddy Krueger?
Freddy Krueger. I think I would have more of an intelligent conversation with him in the morning than I would Leatherface.
I think Freddy would be a much more gentle lover than Leatherface. Would you rather have a threesome with Jason Voorhees and his mum or Pearl and Howard from X?
Pearl and Howard from X, definitely.
Yeah, I'm with you on that. You've got 5 more. You're halfway through. Would you rather show your wife your porn search history or be fingered by Freddy Krueger?
Definitely show my wife my porn search history. I don't think that would end well for me, but I know that the other one wouldn't either.
No, exactly. Would you rather have a naked photo of you displayed in every gallery in the world or your wildest sexual fantasy read out on global news?
I mean, I look good naked, but I want paying for it. I want the money.
I think your best quality is your modesty, to be fair.
Hey man, you know, you've got it. Yeah, I'm gonna go for the gallery option. Showcase it, man. Live your best life.
Yeah, I'm with you because no one wants my sexual fantasies read out on the news. They definitely don't. Number 8. Would you rather only be able to make farmyard noises in bed? So when you're having sex, the only noise you can make is animal noises. Or would you rather that your partner sounds like SpongeBob SquarePants when you're having sex?
Animal noises all the way.
Yeah,
I could not listen to fucking SpongeBob. That's like the biggest turn off ever, man.
Would you rather be gagged or blindfolded?
Blindfolded.
Yeah, I'm not down for being gagged.
I'm open to both, to be honest. I don't care.
And the last one, which is completely tailored to you, and Lisa helped me write this one. Would you rather have sex every single day, but you have a tarantula crawling on your back or ass while you do it, or never ever have sex again?
Oh, I mean, I would definitely never want to not have sex ever again. But fucking hell, man! Like, what?
Yeah.
What? How could you even? How could you even perform in that environment?
See, I think I'd be like, he could sit on my shoulder and just like watch and like, I don't know.
No, what? You'd be cool with that. You'd be like giving pet names and stuff and be like, hey, how's my performance? How am I doing?
Yeah, and you know when you see the videos of the little spider, they put their hands in the air and they kind of wave.
It's
Like
making it feel creepy already. The thought of it running up my back and shit. I don't like this.
See, I'd want him on my head like the rat from Ratatouille, like pulling my hair and like controlling me,
giving you tips.
Yeah,
you slow it down a bit, Scott. You're getting a bit aggressive. Don't know why I went Donald Trump all of a sudden. Then
he's in my ear going, "Tweak the nipple, not pull it, tweak it." Like a little coach. Yeah, I'm in for that. I'm going to wrap this one up first. This is undeniably the best adaptation of the source material. There's no question about it, and I'll argue that with anyone. From novella to what we get here is as close as you've ever had before. The depiction of the Cenobites, the depiction of the box, the depiction of the world, everything is spot on. The story is well developed. I kind of like the fact they scatter the Cenobites through at the beginning and then bring them all together in a big conclusion at the end. The performances are all good. I think Jamie Clayton and the guy who plays the billionaire are the standouts for me. I already said I prefer Jamie Clayton's portrayal of the Hell Priest character to Doug Bradley's, but that's because I very much lean towards the book as my source material. I read Clive Barker's novellas before I watched Hellraiser, so when I first watched Hellraiser, I was like, "Oh, this is different," whereas this is the same. I love the Hellraiser films. I love Clive Barker's books. I think this film has some pacing issues. I think you could probably tighten this up, bring it down to an hour 40 and still have a really cohesive movie. I think for me, this sits up there with remakes like the 2003 Texas Chainsaw Massacre. Like this is on that level of how well they've done. It's not perfect, but it's pretty much there. I'm going to give it a 4.8 out of 5.
Ooh, that is fucking high, man.
I really
that's like 0.2 away from a perfect movie.
I adore this movie. I think it is so well put together. I think it's so well linked to the novellas. I think this movie kind of like, if I could describe what I want in a Hellraiser movie, it is exactly this, but a little bit shorter. Like this is a perfect Hellraiser movie for me.
Yeah, I mean, I'm going to start off by saying, in terms of pacing issues, I don't think there was an issue with pacing. I think the narrative flowed very naturally and consistently throughout. I think you have that initial build-up in the beginning that sort of sets a tone, sets a pace. Character introductions are fleshed out very, very well. I feel like the only reason that it feels so overrun and overdrawn out and feels like it drags is because of the poor writing for Riley's character. The moments you're spending with her so intensely at the beginning of this film feel wasted because you're not invested in her character. Had somebody been better written and better cast for this role, those opening segments would have felt more compelling and more interesting to me. So I don't think the pacing in the script is necessarily off. I just think the casting department let this initial opening of the movie down. And that's not to take away from Riley, whatever the actress's name is, as being a bad actress, because I don't think she is. I think she did the best she could do with what she was given in terms of the script. Along for the rest of the cast, I have no issues with anybody. My biggest gripe about it was the fact that Trevor looked like Joey Essex, and even that it didn't bother me too much throughout this entire movie.
I didn't notice it, and now you've said it, I'm never gonna. You've just fucking ruined this movie forever for me.
Apologies, but yeah, check out the Euron podcast for an incoming reel about Joey Essex and Trevor from the Hellraiser movie. But yeah, I mean, I think for me, visually, this movie is fantastic. It looks incredible. It's one of the best looking Hellraiser movies we've ever seen in our lifetime. I think the lore building and character developments, especially regarding the Cenobites, is fucking awesome. It just made me want more. It just left me feeling unfulfilled because it was, and that's not a fault of the movie. That's a fault of me wanting more from it, me wanting to know more. But that's because they do such a good job here of setting it up that you want to be more involved in it. You want to find out where it's going to go and what this means and what that means and what the trinket on her neck means. It's like, I need to know these things. Give me some more information.
And that's a really good sign of a good movie, that you want to know more.
Exactly. And I think like those are the elements for me that I'm like, yes, give this movie a sequel, because flesh this out more. Give me the answers to the questions that I need, and I will come back to this and I will give it a lot higher score than I'm going to give it today. I think the direction is perfect. Considering this is a straight to streaming movie, I think it looks better than most that we get in the cinema. I think it's an outstanding horror movie and an outstanding adaptation of the original Hellraiser ideology that we've come to know and love. I'm not going to dive too much into the comic book lore because I don't know too much about the comic book lore. And that's one thing that always gets my back up regarding people's, oh, well, that's not true to the story. And, oh, that's not how it's like 90% of the population know the lore of the Hellraiser franchise based on the movies. All right.
Yeah.
So we're coming in here watching the films and then watching this remake. We're not bothered what Clive Barker wrote in the Books of Blood, because only 20% of the audience who are sat here have read those books. They're here because they've seen the Doug Bradley movies. So all the trolls on the internet going out and doing whatever they do, it pisses me off from time to time when we get a movie like this, where people are like, yeah, that's not true to the source material. I'm sure when Kubrick did The Shining, he dealt with a lot of backlash on a similar sort of thing. Oh, it's not the same as the book. Apart from that's different because that was the first adaptation of it. So
the
it's
only
not
backlash
quite
he
the
got
point I'm trying to get to.
The only backlash he got was from Stephen King, who went, "What the fuck have you done to the end of my book, you dickhead?"
Well, yeah, but Stephen King can't write an ending to save his life anyway. We all know that.
This is true.
But yeah, no, I mean, for me, I really like this movie. I liked it a lot. I hated it on my first initial watch, and I was really begrudging doing this episode because I just knew I was going to shit all over it. And then thankfully enough, that wasn't the case. I enjoyed this rewatch a hell of a lot more than I did the first initial watch. And I think that was based upon how much me and you hyped it up on the show when it was coming out. It was like a big build up for us. We was like, oh, the new Hellraiser a couple of weeks. Oh, the Hellraiser coming out this week. And
it was back when we were doing news.
Exactly, yeah. And we spoke about Hellraiser pretty much every week up until its release. And when it finally came, I was underwhelmed by it. And watching it this time around, the underwhelming feelings I had is not because of the movie itself. It's because of the stuff that I want to know more about. And that's not the fault of the movie. That's more a fault of the production companies not giving us more in terms of a sequel, because I'm sure when they wrote this movie, it's like, yeah, we'll deal with that in the next one, or we'll deal with that in the next one, you know, and they never got it, and they still haven't got it nearly 3 years later. Well, nearly 4 years later, and it's a shame, man. It's a shame because
Prey is only just getting, like, there's only just another Predator movie coming, and Prey come out the same year, so that gap for Hulu is kind of works. Like Predator comes out end of this year, and that's made by the Hulu as well. So it could be.
I think Prey is a big factor in why this movie hasn't got a sequel in when it has, because the success of Prey, I think Hulu has focused so much of its energy on the Predator franchise that that's probably why this has taken a bit of a back seat. So hopefully, fingers crossed, it does get picked up, it does get expanded further, because I'll certainly come back to it and give it a lot more. But as a standalone, and if this is how this franchise is left from this point on, and we get another remake in 2-3 years' time, and this is just completely washed to the wayside, it's going to get a 3.5 out of 5 as it is now. If we get that sequel, I will certainly come back on that sequel episode, because it will definitely be covered on this show, and I will revisit my score for this movie based on the developments that come from the second movie.
Yeah, and I think that's fair. And I think it's a fair score, and I think it's time.
The bunny back in the box.
We'll call this one a wrap. That's it for another week. Next week, we're back with a fun-packed episode featuring a movie that, for the first time in a long time, I 100% know me and Mark are going to completely agree on. There's going to be no arguments. We're both going to have fun. We're both going to love it. Whether you like it or not, we are going to love it. We are covering Sleepaway Camp 2, Unhappy Campers. I can't wait. I'm honestly pumped for that episode. So pumped for that episode.
I'm saying nothing until the episode. It's going to be wild, and you all need to be there for it.
Yeah. So until then, don't open the box. Have a wonderful week, and we'll catch you all next time. See you all later.
Cheers, guys. See you next week.
And I can't find the outro music. Where's the fucking outro music? There it is. Bye.
You want to die tonight?
Jokes you tell sets the scene. I hang on every word lost in the screen. Your passion for fear is contagious enough. You make me believe in Mark's overblown roundups. You run podcasts or a movie review, unveiling facts and playing games too.